Alright, in case you hadn't heard, Hollywood is on strike and I want to talk about it, so stick around.
You're afraid of dying.
How do you know? You've never tried it before.
Alright, before we jump in, the usual like button, subscribe button, this, that button, YouTube algorithm, all that stuff. Please and thank you. Really appreciate it. With that out of the way, let's talk about this. If you haven't heard, the Writers Guild of America, WGA, and the Screen Actors Guild, SAG, are on strike right now. Hollywood has basically come to a halt. Projects that were ongoing have shut down. Projects that were in pre-production shut down. New projects are not moving forward. Now, I've seen people talk about this, give their opinions on what they think about it. I'm going to do that, but I'm also going to give facts about why it's happening. And I think that's important, because I think if you don't truly understand what's happening or why it's happening, you can't really have an informed opinion. So I'm going to throw out why it's happening and then give you my opinions on what is happening. So Screen Actors Guild, Writers Guild of America, they have a contract with studios. They don't deal with each studio individually. They deal with a singular legal body that represents the studios. They come to an agreement. That agreement is contract form, and it extends a specific number of years. At the end of that, they can renew, they can renegotiate, or they can come to a disagreement. And if they come to a disagreement, well, strikes happen. And that's what happened here. It's been a few months ongoing, but essentially where we're at right now is the studios and the unions are not agreeing, and there's no end in sight, so work has stopped. Now, the two big factors that are being negotiated on are AI being integrated into Hollywood and streaming services. Now, when the previous contract was made, streaming services weren't as big as they are now. Obviously, now they're everywhere: Netflix, Hulu, Paramount Plus, HBO, or whatever they renamed it to, Warner Discovery. There's so many streaming services now. Okay, we're going to take this, we'll take it one issue at a time. First issue, AI integration. For writers, it's very obvious what the problem could be. Any person with a computer can go to ChatGPT and say, write me a joke about this, or write me a monologue about this. There you go. Writers, if that's the case, writers, why would they pay a writer to do something when they can go to ChatGPT or AI and get it for free? So obviously there's some job security issues there, and they want demands to be met that guarantee their jobs are secure. And I think they are, because AI is very generic and not great at original content. It can answer questions from existing things, but coming up with original content is it's difficult for AI. So, but that's already happening now. People are using it for jokes and monologues and stuff like that. So it's a very real worry for writers. Now, for actors, it's not as obvious where AI could come in and affect them, but I'll give you an example of stuff that's already happening. Now, studio, say you're an extra, and the day rate for an extra is $100. You come in for one day, you get paid $100. They do a digital scan of you, and then using AI, they can input you into any project they want forever. But you only get paid for one day of work. However, they can put you in an infinite amount of projects for forever. Come on, y'all, that's not okay. Anyone could tell that's not okay. You're getting paid for one day, but you're supplying the studio with background or work for the rest of their use. I mean, I'm not saying they're going to, but they can. But they only paid you for one day. No, that's not okay in my opinion. Now, so there's AI out of the way. The next thing is streaming services. And now, the way writers and actors make a lot of money, or most of their money, I don't want to say a lot of money, most of their money is from royalties. If you don't know what a royalty is it's getting paid for work you've done previously once it's used again. So, for instance, it works the same way for streaming services for both actors and writers. So, say a person works on an episode of a show. Anytime that episode is aired on a network, that person gets paid a specific amount of money. So let's say it's $5, either writer or actor. Doesn't make a difference. So say it's shown, it's aired 100 times on networks, they get $500 check because that's what the agreement was. Now streaming services come in. Now say Netflix is like, hey, I want to license that show. They go to the studio, they pay a one-time licensing fee, and then they can air it as many times as they want. The royalties for the actor or the writer come from that licensing fee. However, that licensing fee is not enough to cover everything. So, say they get compensated for it showing 5 times, maybe 10 times. So they get maybe $25 or $50. I'm sorry, I don't know why the hell my nose is itching so bad right now, but it really is. So say they get compensated for it showing 5 to 10 times, but it's aired tens of thousands of times. But they're not getting paid for that. Even though their work is being used that much, they're not getting compensated for it. Now, the streaming services, like, we paid the licensing fee, we're not responsible for giving you any royalties. The studio's like, hey, we paid you your portion of the licensing fee. Plus, from the studio's perspective, streaming services aren't responsible for, as far as I know, giving a detailed, accurate account of how many times something is being watched. So, there's no one wants to pay the actors and writers from these streaming services what they truly should be getting paid. And I don't think that's okay. Maybe it's just me. Maybe you got a different opinion. If that's true, love to hear what it is. Love to hear why you think that. I'd love to hear that down in the comments. But there you go. That's where we're at. These actors and writers are not being compensated properly from streaming services. And Hollywood and the studios want to use AI to pay them even less. For instance, if you've watched the most recent Marvel TV show, Secret Invasion, the atrocious looking opening credits to that show were completely made by AI. They didn't pay a writer, they didn't pay a designer, artist, nothing. They had it generated via AI. So no one was paid for that work, and I think it shows because it looks awful, in my opinion. But that's where we're at right now. That's where these strikes are, and these strikes can only end 2 ways. One of the 2 parties caves, so someone, actors cross the picket line and go back and start working and agree to a deal that they don't like, or the studio caves, says fine, we'll pay you what you want, just come back to work. Or they come together and make an agreement that benefits both parties, and it ends that way. Those are the only 2 ways, and right now studios aren't even willing to negotiate from what I've seen. One studio executive going as far as saying, we're going to wait this out until actors start losing houses. Or rather, writers. One of the 2. I think it was writers, but that's legitimately been said by a studio executive who's making tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars. So I think those are the facts that needs to be considered anytime you're judging these strikes. And one of the big problems is the faces of these strikes are A-list stars who are making millions of dollars. So when you look at a strike and you think, why are the actors on strike? They make plenty of money. Why is Bryan Cranston up there, preaching about making more money? He already makes plenty. It's not about him. It's not about those A-listers. Those are outliers. It's about everyone else in that union. SAG and the Writers Guild is tens of thousands of people. And over 80% of the SAG members don't even make enough yearly to qualify for health insurance. And I think that's only $25,000. So think about that. These people are putting in work that's being seen hundreds of millions of times on streaming services, but they can't even afford to qualify for health insurance. $25,000. We're not talking about Matthew McConaughey, Tom Cruise, Bryan Cranston, Dermot Mulroney. We're not talking about those people. Or if you're going horror, Jenna Ortega, Melissa Barrera. Those are not the people who are being fought for right now. They are fighting, but they're fighting for more money for everyone else. There you go, y'all. Those are the facts as I've found. That's my opinions on them. I'd love to know what you think. Put it down in the comments. Like, subscribe if you would. It really does help me out. And with that, I love you all. Have a great week.